Hey guys, and welcome back to Let's Be Open podcast. So this is our first podcast episode of 2022. So I hope you guys all had a good new year. And we thought we'd start the new year off with a podcast about how to be happy. We both feel like this is quite an important subject at the moment because of these kind of things going on in the world, and it seems to be getting worse and worse. And we want to help you guys enjoy your life as much as you can and give you some tips on how we do that and how you can as well. So if you're not subscribed already, do give us a subscribe or a follow, share the podcast with your friends and family. The first kind of thing that Tristan and I are, we're not amazing at, but we do try and do it as much as we can, is to be present. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about how this can help you be more happy in your life if you're more present.
Yeah, well, I think it's so important. I mean, most of the troubles that humans have in their life are actually a consequence of not being present to the moment. I used to not even know what being present to the moment is. I used to think, you're always present, aren't you? Like, if you're in a room, if you're on the phone, you're always present. What do you mean, be present? I didn't even grasp it until a couple of years ago.
Or maybe explain to some people don't know what that means. Maybe explain a little bit about
Yeah, so being present is thinking about the thing that is going on right here, right now, and not thinking about things that have happened before and things that may happen in the future. So being present with life, what is going on right now. And I think just the 21st century in itself causes us to struggle to be present because we're so constantly sucked into social media and sucked into doing so many different things and jamming it all into a small amount of time. So it's really difficult to be present to the moment. And I think a lot of pain comes from what we've created there. Being present becomes ridiculously difficult. So if you can, even in this capitalistic, constant world where you kind of have to focus on the past and focus on the future a little bit, be as present as you can.
Yeah. I think it's really, really important because I see it in my own clients and obviously like myself, where you watch things on the news or things come up on your social media and you then think, oh my God, this might happen, or this could happen, or what if this happens? And all of those things are what ifs. They're not actually what is happening right now. So then you waste your present moment worrying about what might happen, and it might not even happen anyway. So you're losing out on your happiness right now because you're worrying about something that will happen in the future. And this could be with anything, like even like in relationships. If you're worrying about something that might happen in your relationship and you're feeling a bit insecure about something that may happen, you're wasting the present moment that you've got that is so good. I think that's so important because like Alan Watts talks a lot about how our whole life we go through literally missing our life because we're constantly making plans for the future. We're thinking about what we're going to do tomorrow. Tomorrow comes and then you're thinking about what you're going to do tomorrow, and tomorrow comes and it's constantly like not actually living in the present moment and enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm reading some Alan Watts at the moment actually, and he spoke about even when the thing comes that you're so excited about, so you're wasting all of your present time until you get to the thing in the future that seems like it's going to be so good. But then that thing comes and it can't feel good unless you have further expectations of other brilliant things in the future. So you wait all your time for this one good thing to happen, then it's finally here and you can't even enjoy it anyway.
Yeah.
So you can't have your life like that and expect to be happy. You have to be more present to the moment and work exclusively on being present to the moment to enjoy your life. And it is so difficult to do. Yeah,
and also how like everything's going on at the moment in the world with I won't say it because YouTube might affect us, but the C word that people are constantly on edge and worrying for the waiting for the next announcement or what these new measures are going to be and worrying about that. And then, yes. I mean, if you think that this has been going on now for 2 years and people have been living in a state of fear and worry for the last 2 years, all that time, a lot of people have said they haven't been happy. Mental health has got so much worse over the last 2 years, because people are living in a constant state of fear. I know it's hard, like, because your life is controlled by these measures, but it's really, really important for you to get away from that. And, for example, go for a walk and try and be present on the walk. Like, look at the scenery, listen to the sounds, or, you know, hang out with friends, things like that, and just be present in the moment rather than thinking about the future and all the past.
Yeah, you're so right. The whole of this last 2 years has been a constant avoiding the present moment, not enjoying the present moment. There's an illusory kind of everything that's happened in the last couple of years. Most of it has been an illusion from this box in the corner of the room. And when you look outside or go outside, it's only people seeing that illusion that create the problems. I mean, when you look at it for what it is, there's not many problems going. If you walk out your front door, like, there's not people dying on the streets.
In the UK, we're very privileged where we are. Like, we don't have a lot of problems. Yeah.
And we are creating those problems by avoiding being present, by seeing this stuff on our television in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
And if you can just remove yourself from the hysteria of all of that, life's pretty good right now. If you can be present in this moment. Brings me on to actually that you do get, even when you have something daunting ahead of you or some terrible illness or something like that, although it's difficult to stay present in those times, if you can stay present in those times and you're not in pain, even the present moment right now is good. It's only the thought of the things that, you know,
I think
are to be in the future that make you sad.
Yeah, in that Alan Watts book, I think it's in that, he talks about people who have operations. So, like, their operation will be in, like, 6 months' time. But for the 6 months' time leading up to the operation, they're not present because they're constantly worrying about the operation. And you waste the 6 months leading up to it. So it's really, really important. And also this, in, like Tristan said, if you're going through like a tough time, maybe even like a breakup, it's really hard because then you're constantly thinking about the past. You're like, oh, but all the memories we had and all of this, and it's so difficult, and you miss so much of the present moment because you're thinking about all the past. But even then, that's a really important time to just try and enjoy whatever action you're doing. Like, if you're making some food, just get really into making the food, or having a bath, have a nice bath, those kind of things.
Yeah, again, that's I mean, you may be being, I guess you're not being present. When you're focusing on the negative things that are transpiring at this point in time and comparing it to how things used to be in the past, you're again avoiding presence by looking at how things used to be and expecting and hoping that things were like they used to be. But it's like, still, I think in these points in time, I think things could get a hell of a lot worse than they are now. And if you can imagine the worst case scenario and then put yourself into where we are now, like, things are good. Like, regardless of whether things were better at another point in time, like, things are good right now. We're not being completely locked inside, and we're not quite yet having things jabbed in our arm without us wanting them to be there.
In the UK,
we're not quite at that point yet of tyranny and control and being in the Matrix controlled by robots. So life is good, and if you can understand that,
and then
you're going to be happy.
You look at our parents as well, who, like, they'll be like, 10 years ago it was so much, like, better or whatever, and that maybe will be us in 10 years time. We'll go, 10 years ago it was so good, and like 2022 we were so lucky, why didn't we appreciate it?
So appreciate now.
Appreciate it, because I feel like as well, like, with technology it's going to get worse and worse, so enjoy what we've got now and how it is and the freedom that you have.
Should we do a couple of tips on how to be present to the moment? Because this is something that I have struggled with. I find it very hard to be present, and I'm probably quite present compared with most people, which is quite ironic, but I still think I'm terrible at it. But there's things that I think Chloe have learned over the last few years that can help you be more present, because it is so difficult to do. One of them is keeping your phone, you don't have your notifications turned on in your phone, which is a great one. So say I'm having a conversation with someone and my phone's going off, bing, bing, bing all of the time. Like, that's sucking me straight out of the present moment, straight out of the conversation I'm having with you into some other conversation. And then the amount of energy that I'm having in this conversation with you is dropped right down, and you have to kind of try and get
even
back
if you
there.
don't open the phone, your mind is going, oh, who's that message from? Oh, and you're like thinking about that whilst talking to someone else.
So the thing to do, like when you're having a coffee with someone, like turn your phone off,
put it on airplane mode,
put it in your bag, something like that is such a good thing to do, because then your focus is entirely on that person.
And so if you go on a walk, leave your phone at home, or if you need your phone, put it on airplane mode.
Then you can enjoy the walk, enjoy the nature.
Yeah, and I noticed that when we go on trips, when we obviously don't have GPS 4G and Wi-Fi, when we go on like road trips and stuff when we're away on holiday, it's actually so nice, because like you sit in your car and you're like, you can't go on your phone, you can't message anyone, no one can message you, can't go on Instagram, like that. Yeah, that's a really good tip. Another one is also just to, if you're not very good at being present, just to notice it. I think you said that Eckhart Tolle said that in his book, that the first step is to notice it. So start noticing when you're not being present. So say you're cleaning the floor and you're thinking about your plan for tomorrow. The first thing is to just say, oh, I'm not being present. That's a massive step in itself. Just to
focusing on what you are doing. Focus on, like, if you're sweeping the floor, focus on the movement of your hands and all of the dust going into the dustpan. And it may sound really silly, but like those things in life are enjoyable. When you're super, super present, there is nothing more enjoyable. And you are in that kind of blissful state if you can remain present like all the time. It's
like why people are like adrenaline junkies, because when they do like paragliding or jumping out of a plane, they are completely present, because you're forced to be. So that's why I think that people love it, because they get to be at the moment when they're actually present.
You're not thinking about your ex-girlfriend when you're falling from a plane.
About dying instead. And even like sex, when a lot of people, it depends actually, some people when they're having sex their mind does run, but for me, like that's when I'm like really present to the moment. Like most of the time I'm not thinking about other things. It's like I'm in a little bubble, which I quite like. So like that's that applied to say when you're on a walk would be great. So noticing it is the first step. Turning your phone off with notifications, especially when you're with other people, or even on your own, I guess, just turning it off.
And you have to be aware of time and things like that, unfortunately. Which is not being present in a way. But as long as you pre-plan your presence, like maybe you've got a coffee date with someone, like set your timer for an hour, do you know what I mean? And then you're not constantly thinking about it, because you know your phone's going to remind you.
Or if you're like going to do some yoga, be like, right, I'm going to do yoga at 10 o'clock and I'll turn my phone off for half an hour and just really focus on the yoga. Not like texting between your yoga, watching. Oh, the other thing as well to help you be more present is to not multitask. So if you're cooking, don't have the TV on at the same time. Or if you're watching a film, don't be texting at the same time, because our generation is awful for that, like sitting on phones whilst watching TV. You're not being present to the film at all.
Yeah, and even as far as in a practical sense, you pay a cognitive debt when you multitask things. So it doesn't make you more efficient, it makes you less efficient. So if you're going between doing one task on your computer and one task doing your homework at school or something, you pay a price. So your mind and your memory has to fire from one and then change into the other, and that takes its toll on your mind and your memory, and you actually get less stuff done. So multitasking is also a waste of time. It doesn't make you happy, and it's not useful anyway, even if it seems like it is. That's very true. I guess there's the occasional time where it's good to multitask. You, I think, listen to podcasts when you walk or something.
Yeah, but I mean, even that, you could say it's not being present, because I'm not focusing on the walk, I'm listening to a podcast. Driving's another one. I don't know about a lot of people listening, but for me, when I drive, a lot of time not being present, because it's like second nature for me driving. So I will drive to a destination and forgotten half of the drive, because I just do it so easily. It's like breathing for me. So that is like trying to focus on the driving, noticing the drive, rather than just...
A good to see if you are being good at being present. It's good to see how interested in typical boring mundane things you can be. So like if you can get into like sweeping up or like driving your car and you're not focusing on other things, like your chances are you're pretty good at being present. And if it takes you to be jumping out of a plane before you can focus on just what you're doing, then chances are you're not very good at being present.
Yeah, and another one is obviously addictions. When a lot of people are addicted to drugs or alcohol, it's because, it helps them be, I guess, not be more present, but it takes them out of the moment. It's like a distraction so that they're not present, because they don't like their life or whatever, so it's taking away from it. That's why a lot of people do it. So to then not do the drug and not do the alcohol actually means you have to just be present in your life and enjoy the moment. A lot of people find that really difficult to do.
Yeah, and we've been conditioned for years and years to avoid being present. Capitalism encourages us to be productive all of the time, and unfortunately that makes it difficult sometimes to be present.
Yeah.
I guess it's one of the real pains of the 21st century. And then you have more and more things to do because capitalism gets stronger and stronger, and then it's harder and harder to be present. So for years and years, we've had to have your mind running all of the time.
Yeah.
That's why you see so much kind of happiness in it. I remember going to Vietnam, and I remember seeing the guys that were working the boats, and they were just so chilled out. One of them was just lying there with a hat on his face in the middle of the day, just chilling out. He's just got nothing else to do. No capitalism is forcing him to work his nuts off.
Yeah.
And just kind of people are just content with doing nothing. And the more you get into the rat race of the 21st century, I see less and less kind of happiness.
Even when we went to Scotland, like to the Outer Hebrides, you know, it's so desolate. There's like a few houses, there's not much there, like a shop and a cafe, and you think, God, that must be so boring. But they're clearly all quite content just living there and doing their farming each day and walking or whatever. Yeah. Don't need all that other hustle and bustle.
Yeah. What are other ways?
Yeah. So another way that to be more happy this year is to just accept. So a lot of the time when something bad happens, or you don't have a very good piece of news, or something doesn't go your way, a lot of people resist it. So they get really annoyed and let it piss them off, and maybe let it affect them for days or weeks. And the pandemic was a perfect example. So when we went into lockdown, people would get so, were getting so annoyed for weeks and weeks. And even now people get so angry and worked up about it. But if you are more just accepting, like, there are some things you can do something about, but like a lot of the things, say with COVID restrictions, you can sign a what's the parliament thing, petitions, things like that. But if we're going to go into lockdown, it's not a lot we can do. So you just have to be like, right, this is what happens, gonna accept it, I'll do whatever I want to do. Like, you can obviously choose how you act or whatever, but to just accept that this is what it is and not resist it. Another one would be like a breakup. If someone doesn't want to be with you, rather than being like, oh, this is so annoying, or like trying to get them back or whatever, just this is what's happened and I'm going to accept it. And yes, it might be shit, but I'm going to work through it and I'm going to move on, rather than letting it get you down. Obviously, it is okay to feel down, and like on my life coaching course, we learn about, you've got to accept your emotions and go through the motions, let them out, but then move on and accept that this is how it is. And I think that is so important with the pandemic. Like, you've just got to accept that this is how it is now. There is this virus, and unfortunately it's here, and we just need to just get on with it, like, rather than worrying too much. Obviously, if you want to take action with certain things, fine, but don't let it really get you down. Well,
I think that's the thing. If you can take action with things, but things that you have no control over, what is the point in resisting them? Because that just gives you pain. I think I've said in this podcast before, actually, that I don't have a back door key, and I thought I'd left my back door open, and I hadn't left my back door open, and I get to the back door and I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, I've got to walk all the way around there. And that whole period of time walking around to the front door, I'm resisting something that I can't change it. Resisting it is causing me to feel more pain than necessary. I'm not being happy, I'm not being present, I'm moaning and wishing that things could be different, but things aren't. Like, I didn't have my key for the back door. It's like, you might as well, in that situation, accept it, and then, like, lo and behold, the walk around to the front door was quite nice because I was present to the moment and I was like looking up at the nice stars.
It's really similar to traffic, actually. Like, when you're stuck in a traffic jam, some people get so like worked up about traffic, like, oh, it's fucking traffic, and you sit there in your car and you're so annoyed. But if you're like,
you're winding yourself
up. And then literally, when you're in traffic, there is nothing you can do unless you can find a shortcut, obviously. But if there isn't, you just have to go, I'm in traffic and I'm gonna be late and there is nothing I can do about it, so I just need to accept it and then just chill out.
It's a brilliant one, because all of us are stuck in traffic, especially where we live in the UK, for vast periods of time. So it's such a good one to get good at acceptance and then get good at being present, because things aren't that bad. I mean, when you think about that, you're sat in a car, you've got your heating controls, you've got your music, do you know what I mean?
And especially when traffic is caused from a crash and you see people getting really like angry, annoyed, it's like, well, you know, feel some sympathy or empathy for those people that may have even died in that crash and what they're having to deal with. And lucky you just get to sit there in your car and wait.
Yeah,
it's not that bad.
In the warm.
Yeah. So
yeah, accept when things don't go when there is nothing you can do about things, just accept them. Don't resist them. It does. You're just causing your own pain.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, that's a great one.
So, and then the next thing, so these are all things as well that Tristan and I try and do, by the way. Like, these are things that we've learned in the last year, I think, and have really helped us. And this next point is something that I've learned in the basically since the beginning of the pandemic, which is to be grateful. And I know that sounds strange, like how is that linked to happiness? But if you look for 10 things every day in 2022, look for 10 things before you go to bed or when you wake up that you're grateful for, I promise that it will make you more happy. Because the reason we don't feel happy normally is because things aren't going our way, or we think we have a lack of something, or things aren't very good. But when you see the good things in your day, the 10 things that you have every day, for example, it just can't not make you like happy, because you realise, and a good example is just health. Like, you know, when you have a really bad toothache, you think, God, I wish I didn't have this toothache. Why wasn't I more grateful for the time when I didn't have the toothache? Or a cold. I had a really bad cold the other week, and you did too. And you think, God, I wish I was more grateful for the days when I didn't have a cold, like, because it is so annoying. So, like, I always put that on my list, is like being able to walk, talk, like having health, having a bed. There's so many simple things that you could be happy that you've got really nice food that you eat, a job, money in your bank account, like, you know, friends, family, whatever it might be. You can get to 10 like so easily. I remember in lockdown I even wrote things like the sun shining, because of days we had really good weather, like grateful for that. And it just makes you more happy because you realise how lucky you are in the things that you've got, rather than focusing on the things you don't have, which is what a lot of people do.
Yeah, there's big things that you can just think. I mean, I guess terminal cancer is one of them, something like that. Like, whatever situation you're in, 99% of the things that you complain about in life, terminal cancer's worse. And if in every situation when you spill the porridge on the floor, if you go, it could be worse, could be terminal cancer, and see it from that perspective, like, you're in a good position just having to clear up a bowl of porridge. Like, that is good, and you should be happy about that.
Yeah, we watched 24 Hours in A&E recently, and there was a guy on it who recovered from cancer, and he said that every morning in his treatment, when he woke up and heard the birds, he was just happy. He was like, because it means I had another day that I was alive, because he was given a deadline to when he was going to die. And he was like, every day that I woke up and heard the birds, that was enough for me. Like, I was happy. My day was set because I was alive. And it's like so many people aren't even grateful for that, just waking up in the morning or having your hearing. And I think it's so important.
Yeah, we're pretty privileged, really.
Yeah.
A lot of us. Even, I mean, most of the people listening to this podcast, like, if you've got internet access, you're privileged in a way.
If you've got a YouTube channel, Wi-Fi, yeah.
So seeing the perspective of things, it's a funny one when people gain more and more material wealth, especially, you kind of, a lot of the time the bar is raised to what you think is like good or acceptable. Like, you might see people like won't be happy unless they've got like a real expensive steak meal, and, you know, they go for an average meal at only a 4-star hotel, and it's like, what's this? But it's like, if you could have the perspective of the starving African and always have that as your baseline level of what you expect, then anything more than that is going to be really incredible. Yeah,
unfortunately that's the problem with having more. Like, I think I told you about, like, with my parents.
But again, it's that failure to remain present, and it's you thinking back to the past and what you've had before, and you're comparing it to the future. Whereas if you can be present, it's like, does this food taste good? Yeah, it tastes good. This is nice. Instead of, it doesn't taste as good as this stuff last month.
Yeah. Because that's what I was saying about my parents when they fly, because of my dad's, you know, staff travel and stuff. They always travel like club or first class. My mum will just not like sit in economy, whereas I will sit in economy in a jump seat no matter what. Like, I really don't care. And the fact that you're privileged enough to be able to go on a plane and afford a plane ticket, because there are people in this country who can't afford to travel, and you're so lucky to be able to go on a holiday. and you're moaning about like an economy seat. Like for me, that just like blows my mind, because it's like
even comparing yourself to people in other points in time. Like we can fly around the world. Like you can have like all of this entertainment at your fingertips. And 100 years ago, the kings of the past, they still had to be surrounded by rats around their bed and like the most disgusting food standards and like, all of this stuff. So if you compare yourself to any other point in time, like
you're lucky.
You're really lucky, yeah.
Yeah. We were born in a good century.
Yeah. Well, unless it goes to the point of tyranny, but hopefully it won't. Hopefully we'll be dead.
Yeah.
And then we'll be grateful for that death.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we
got out before it got bad.
Avoided the tyranny.
So maybe for this year, just start in your diary or on your phone each night, or just say it in your head, or to say it to your partner before you go to bed, like 10 things that you're both grateful for, and the same in the morning, and or think them, and it will make a difference to you being more happy.
Yeah.
And then we also thought we'd talk about what not to do. So sometimes you do certain actions to make yourself feel better and be more happy, thinking they will bring you more happiness. But from our point of view, there's certain things that we think actually you should avoid to make you happy.
We're thinking about a lot of validation things that might make you more happy. So maybe having more stuff, having more cars to show off with, having a better body to show off with. Maybe when you get more external validation, you will feel better about yourself. But I think we've both realised that those things are short-lived, and normally they don't bring you much more real happiness. They might bring you more attention, but then you still have the underlying feeling of not good enough inside, and unfortunately that's something that you cannot get from the way that other people perceive you. It's something that you have to get from the inside.
And even I know, I'm sure people listening have done it, where you're feeling a bit down, so you go shopping, especially women, like you buy something, or even men, when you buy a new tool or like phone or car, for the first 2 weeks you do feel more happy because you're like, oh, my nice new car, or my nice new dress, or whatever it might be, shoes. But that quickly wears off, and that doesn't last, and that doesn't bring you long-term happiness. And you can keep trying buying more and more things, but it won't make you happy.
Yeah, that's the distinction between pleasure and happiness, and how they seem so close, but they're so worlds apart. And some of those things bring you pleasure, but like happiness is a more deep-seated, long-term thing than a superficial pleasure.
Yeah, it's so true. Another one is also like having surgery as well. So like people will have like a boob job or Botox or whatever it might be, to make you potentially feel more happy, I guess, because you feel more validated. But and again, it would just bring short term. It doesn't bring the real happiness. So I listened to another podcast called The Diary of a CEO, and he interviews CEOs of companies. So obviously a lot of them are like potentially billionaires. And nearly all of them say that even when their company was like the most successful, that was actually when they were the least happiest, because they'd reached their goal and they've earned all this money, and now they don't know what to do, because they're like, well, we've got all this stuff, everything that we need. Now what do we do? Because they haven't worked on just being happy in themselves, for example, doing some of the things that we've said, and just learning to just, be present, and rather than just constantly chasing things. Once they've got the thing, they're like, what next? Like, what do I do now? Like, I've got the successful company. What am I going to do now?
Yeah. I guess, unfortunately, as well, a lot of people, you cannot convince them that they don't need those things, so they have to achieve them before they realise, that didn't work. And there's so many people like those guys probably that think the contentment and the happiness will come from being rich. Brian Rose from London Real is a good example. Worked on Wall Street for years, and then just thought, what is this? Like, I don't feel good at all. Don't feel happy at all. This isn't bringing me anything. And then you can relearn what actually brings you contentment. I don't feel like most people have to have those ridiculous superficial, materialistic milestones to reach before they can realise maybe that's not bringing me happiness. You can normally work towards goals that are materialistic, and then you realise, everyone actually isn't fulfilling me, so it must be something else. Yeah.
Which is
fortunate.
It does depend how self-aware you are, though, I think. because I know of people, and I do see it on social media, that they're chasing more materialistic things, and
they can't change it until they get there.
Yeah, and you do hear actually also about a lot of people who have chased the materialistic things and seem really happy on Instagram, for example, or seem really successful. Then you hear about them, they're actually like suffering from depression, have serious social anxiety, don't ever go out, like that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's really, really important too. So when you're not feeling very happy at the moment, is to not go and, you know, do acts that you think will make you happy just for that, you know, moment. Like, you need to think about long-term happiness.
Yeah, it's such a common thing, isn't it? Oh, I'm going to go on a shopping spree, that'll make me feel better about it.
Or I'm going to go to the pub and get pissed, like, you know.
Well, the other thing is that people from the West, apparently, when you ask people from the West and people from the East how they make themselves feel better, people from the West do spend money on themselves and buy gifts for themselves and treat themselves to new things. And people from the East take time out of their days and they spend time with their own family members or give gifts to their family members. And apparently the levels of fulfillment between the two are so much greater on the Eastern front. And there's that's exactly what we're talking about here, but the treating yourself to things doesn't make you as happy as treating other people to your time and to your company and to giving them things. So it almost seems a difficult one to grasp, that it's going to make me happy by giving Chloe something of mine because I will have less. So surely that won't make me feel better. That's going to make me feel worse because I'll have less. But what you realise when you start doing this, and I think a lot of people do realise this at Christmas time, is that the giving stuff away, even though you're losing something, you gain more by giving things away.
Yeah, because you feel so good when someone receives a nice gift.
And if you can realise that, realise like how giving gifts does make you feel, and then start applying that, because it can make you happier, and I think it will make you happier than buying stuff for yourself.
Or even if you don't want to give gifts, you could do acts for others. So like, you know, if you don't have the money, you could invite a friend over and cook them a meal rather than like buy them something. And even that is a giving thing. You know, you could say to your partner, I'll cook a meal for you tonight, like your favourite meal or something like that as a surprise, or giving things like that, or just offering to do something for them. That's always like a nice thing. It makes you feel good. Or like, hanging out with friends or people that are the right kind of friends, like good friends to you, and then maybe cooking them a meal, things like that could make you feel better.
Things like compliments are a good one, because compliments they're like what's the opposite of a double-edged sword? Like a double bonus. Because I'm giving the compliment and it makes me feel good that I've made you feel good, but you're receiving the compliment, which makes you feel good. I probably feel better for giving the compliment because it's less superficial and it's less validation, if that makes sense. That's like, what a great thing to be doing. We all need to be doing more.
Well, there's a TikTok channel called like the Kindness Channel or something, isn't it? And they've got like hundreds of thousands of followers. It's that video that I showed you yesterday where they go around saying nice things, and they drive around the streets and they just say nice things. They shout out the window like, oh, your outfit's so nice, oh my god, your hair looks so good, and these people are just like, what? Oh, thanks so much. Like especially when there's like older women and they're like, cool, love your outfit, and she's like, oh, thanks.
That's badass.
It's so nice. So I'm guessing when you get like older as well, people probably don't pay you as many compliments. So it's quite rare. Like, so because when you're a kid, you get a lot of validation from your parents and compliments from your parents. When you grow up, you don't get as many. So doing things like that, even to make yourself happy, I guess, give acts of kindness, because just doing kind things for others does make you feel good as a person, and it helps other people too. Giving to charity, things like that.
Well, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think that's everything. So those were like our 3 main points, were basically to be more happy in 2022. Try and be more present to the moment, accept the moment as it is and don't resist it, and be more grateful for what you do have, not obviously what you don't. And also just do the right things to make you happy. Don't do the wrong things, because it won't lead to long-term happiness.
Yeah.
I think that's everything, isn't it?
Yeah, very good. So have a happy 2020, guys.
Yeah, 2022.
2022.
That was 2 years ago.
Stumbling with the year already.
Don't worry, we're only the second day in. And if you did like it, please do subscribe. Give us a like and a follow. Share, comment, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and see you on the next one.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.